Okay then. Hi and welcome today to another one of my videos on how you can take control when you're going through treatment. So today I'm speaking to the lovely Hannah Pearn, who is the host and creator of the Don't Tell Me to Relax podcast and is a fertility acupuncturist. So I wanted to chat to Hannah today to help people understand sort of how acupuncture can help generally, but how it can help when you're going through fertility treatment and trying to get pregnant, but also how it can help you take control of it. So welcome and thank you so much for talking to me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's lovely to be here. Thank you.
And so how long have you been working as a fertility acupuncturist, and sort of what sort of the work that you do now?
I think I have now been in practice for 15 years, and I've probably spent the last 12 specialising in fertility. And so myself and the team, we've got a big team. We all support people who are trying to conceive, whether they're going through IVF, whether they are trying to conceive naturally, doing IUI, same-sex couples, solo parents, whatever the background and path to having a family, we are there to support everybody.
Yeah, which is brilliant, isn't it? And do you want to just talk through, because I know a lot of people hear that acupuncture can be helpful when you're trying to get pregnant or when you're going through treatment, but do you want to just explain kind of what's involved and then also how it can help you?
Yeah, of course. So our first consultation is always an hour and a half, and we ask you, and if you have a partner, then we'll ask you and your partner to fill in a big form, and we'll ask lots of questions, obviously about your reproductive health, but we are a bit wider perhaps than maybe your doctor or your fertility doctor, because we think of all things that impact your life and your health. So from your sleep to your digestion, to what you have for breakfast, to how much you exercise, because we want to ask lots of questions and get a really deep understanding of the couple involved in creating an embryo and having a family. And from there, we make a bit of a plan. So we might suggest tests that might not have been suggested to you before, because we're thinking about things a bit wider. Or we might suggest things that you might want to go back and investigate in a bit more detail, because we don't just want you to be within range. We want you to be in an optimal range for your fertility health. And then any areas where we think, oh, we can make improvements or we can optimize, then we'll discuss that with you. And then we use the acupuncture to work on the areas that you've told us are your concerns. So for lots of people, they might have problems with their sleep, they might have problems with their menstrual cycle, they might be feeling really stressed and they don't know what to do about it, they might be feeling like they've got poor digestion. So it really varies from person to person, but what we create is an individualized treatment plan and an individualized care pathway for you and sometimes your partner as well. So we see people right the way through, and a lot of our work is about this idea of preparing people to get pregnant, so either they conceive naturally or before they go through that IVF.
So yeah, it's amazing. It's not just, I think people sort of, you hear acupuncture and you have a sort of preconception of what it is like.
Yeah.
It's not just kind of the treatment with the needles. There's so much more to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's the whole plan, like you said before, and thinking about how many different things can affect your fertility and your chances of conceiving that you're helping to look at.
Yeah.
So at the start, at what stage would you recommend people come to see you then? Would you say kind of as soon as they're starting trying, or if they're about to start treatment, would you recommend starting quite a bit before?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I would love everybody to not maybe necessarily come in for acupuncture, but at least access the information that we provide either through the podcast or through the website, as you know, in their late 20s, a few years before you're trying to conceive, in an ideal world. Because the problem is that lots of people end up in our clinics when they're feeling desperate. They're feeling like they've tried everything and they're feeling like, I'm just going to throw the kitchen sink at it. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but a big part of what the work that we try and do is this education piece, where we're really helping people understand, because the longer we have time to work with a person, the more we can do, the more we can influence their blood sugar levels, their inflammation levels, improve their cycles, really get control of their stress, really work on a plan to do all the things that we know can have a positive benefit on your health and your fertility. So the more time we have, the better, because if people come and they're like, I'm starting IVF next week, then obviously there are still things that we can do, but we know that that key point of preparation, those 3 months or 6 months before, can be so beneficial and can be a real game changer into how that IVF cycle works out. So yeah, as soon as possible is what I would say, but there is always an opportunity to do something.
Yeah, and you never know if you come earlier on in your journey, that if you can sort out some of the things that maybe have been causing problems, I'm guessing that would not only increase your chance of potentially falling pregnant naturally, because some of the things that might have been a problem, whether that's cycles, could be solved or certainly helped. But also it gets you in a better state to cope physically and emotionally, I guess, to go through treatment, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so many people, the reason why we started the podcast is because so many people come to work with us in clinic and they go, why has nobody told me this before? Why did I not have this understanding in my early 30s, late 20s? And a very common situation is that lots of people go on contraception. Obviously, you might not want to have a child when you're that young. And then they come off contraception and then they like, oh, well, I've still got heavy periods, or my cycle's now irregular, or I've got a very light cycle. And at that point, when you're trying to conceive, it's very stressful. Whereas if you can find out that information before, maybe in the year before, and you think of that year as preparation, it can just be really helpful, because it takes time to get tests. It takes time to make changes. You want to do it in a way that you don't feel completely overwhelmed. You don't want to do it in a way that you feel like, I've got to do everything I possibly can. The more time you have, the more gentle you can be about the changes that you make, the better you are going into that point where you are now ready to try. And this is like my ideal. It very rarely happens, but it's something that I think is important to strive towards, because we know the average age of trying to get pregnant is going up. And we know that the education part is not necessarily improving. So it's a big message. I think it's important to get out there.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, people should be aware of it early, because the earlier you can start, the more chance of making changes, and even things like just making changes so you feel better in yourself.
Yeah.
Not just fertility related, but even feeling better in yourself, whether that is just to be able to cope with trying to get pregnant, with going through treatment as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I speak to, myself included, my preconception was just about the needles. And as a person who's terrified of needles, that is completely what put me off anything like acupuncture.
Yeah.
Please, could you just describe kind of what would happen? So you've talked about like early stage of the process as you go through the form and you pinpoint certain things. And then I guess from there, the specific points where you would do how do you work that out, or what would happen, so that somebody who's never experienced acupuncture before knows what they could expect?
So acupuncture is based on a system of energy. So it's a belief that there is energy running around your body. You have 12 channels that have this energy moving around, and any problem in life is an imbalance in that energy. So there's either too much energy or not enough energy. And what you do is you identify the imbalance, and you use the acupuncture needles to kind of get the energy moving in the right way. So it's a bit like, if you imagine it like an electrical circuit, and it might have a blockage, or it might have a bit that's kind of become dewired and separated, and you're using the energy to kind of plug that back in. So when it comes to things like, for example, in Chinese medicine, if you think about a painful period, in Chinese medicine, what we do is we look at your tongue, we ask questions, we take your pulses, and often you might find that someone's got very strong pulses and they might have like a purple tongue, and to us that suggests that the energy isn't flowing freely enough. It's like getting stuck. And if you think about it, like anything that gets stuck and congeals, it can cause pain because it's not moving. So we would be using the acupuncture points to move the blood, we call it, and the chi much more easily and freer to hopefully improve your period symptoms. So we choose acupuncture points based on where you are in your menstrual cycle, based on what you tell us when we ask you all the questions, and based on what your pulse and tongue tell us. So if you want to think about it from a Western medicine point of view, a lot of it is about neurotransmitters and about those signals that are sent from your brain to the rest of your body, either for pain or for hormone balance or for stress. They are the pathways that we are working on.
It's fascinating. I didn't know that about like looking at the tongue and the pulses and things as well.
Yeah.
So if there is somebody who is a little apprehensive about things like needles, what reassurances, just because I know it's something that so many people say about, and everybody I speak to who's had acupuncture or acupuncture say you really don't need to worry about it, but there will be some people who are still a bit apprehensive about it.
Of course, because when you think of needles, you think of needles that you've had blood taken or you're having an injection, and obviously when you're doing IVF, you've got a lot of needles, so it feels mean to have more needles on top of that if you don't like needles. But all I can say is that acupuncture needles are completely different. So they're teeny tiny, they're as fine as the hair on your head, and we place them in certain points and we go very, very slowly. So we are very gentle acupuncturists. We don't do loads and loads of needles. We use very small ones. We use very fine ones, and we do it one at a time. And so for anybody new who's nervous, we might only use a few needles and just see how that patient goes. I mean, we do a lot of needles that are below the belly button, above the pubic bone. And that area where it's kind of a bit more fleshy is often, people don't really experience any pain or sensation. It's often if we do like points around the wrist, points in the ear we might use, they can be a bit sharp as the needle goes in. But really, once the needle's in, people very rarely feel it. They often, fall asleep, feel very, very relaxed after treatment. So it sounds counterintuitive, but yeah, and to be honest, the only way you're going to know about it is to go and try it, because I can describe it and tell you all about it till the cows come home, but there is no better way than trying it. And just tell your practitioner you feel a bit nervous, ask them to take it slowly, and I'd take it from there.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Thank you. I think it's just good to help put some of those worries.
Yeah.
And then I know you kind of covered this, but acupuncture can work well alongside fertility treatment as well, can't it? So yes, it's for people who are trained naturally, but it can work alongside fertility treatment, can't it?
Yeah. So we probably about 50-60% of people we see across our clinics are preparing for IVF or going through IVF. And again, it really depends on when you come to see us. So if you come to see us 3 months before, we're working on that egg quality preparation or that sperm quality preparation, and we're doing regular treatments. We often work alongside nutritionists to make sure that we've got that foundation in place. And a lot of our work is about supporting blood flow, blood sugar balance, reducing inflammation, reducing stress. They are the things that there is some science behind acupuncture. So that is the best way we get the best results. Some people come and see us just as they're starting their IVF, and we're very much working in the moment. So we're working on really giving that care and support as somebody is going through that treatment. So again, blood flow and stress are the two things, but we can't impact egg quality at that point, because obviously that's already been done, that's been laid down in those 3 months in that preparation. So it's just, I always say that just so it's really clear about what we can and can't do at the different stages.
Yeah, which it's good to know, because you want to manage their expectations around what can be done as well.
Yeah.
And I know when I've spoken to people before, they said it's not just kind of the needles, is it? It's quite often more of a talking therapy as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, as a team, we spend a lot of time and we've done a lot of training in either counselling or specialist areas like miscarriage support or loss, whether that's IVF that's not been successful, embryos that haven't made it. We've done a lot of work around that emotional side of fertility treatment. So it means that, obviously we're not saying we're counsellors, but it just means that you get that space where you can come and talk, you can tell us how you're feeling. Our appointments are an hour long, so we give people time to just, catch us up on what's been happening. And I often say to people, you might want to get a second opinion, or you might just need a sounding board from somebody who's not a member of your family, not your doctor, but somebody who supports lots and lots of people going through treatment and can give you the shared history from seeing thousands and thousands of people literally through lots and lots of different types of treatment. Because what I often say to people is, if you start putting in questions to ChatGPT or message boards, you can suddenly get overwhelmed with fertility information. You don't know whether it's relevant to you. It might really trigger your nervous system and make you feel quite stressed. And there's no kind of protection about it. Whereas I think if you're working with somebody one-to-one, you build that relationship. And, you know, people come and say, Hannah, I'm doing this. What do you think? And I'm like, well, this is my experience from all the other people I've ever worked with. And, or maybe you want to think about this, or maybe that's a good thing to think about. And, you know, we don't tell people what to do. It's just, we discuss, these are the options and this is what's relevant to you. So you're getting that individual personalized care without the overwhelm of, does this really need to happen for me? Is this relevant for me? Because each person is unique. Every journey is unique. And you might not be ready to go down that road yet. And so we are always with that person wherever they need to be.
Yeah, which is good, because if you've done all that work to start with on the questionnaire, and then you're working with them and helping them every week for an hour or however often you see them, you will get to know them and get to know what's right for them, and you will understand some of the things that are going on with their body too.
Yeah.
You mentioned in that last bit about loss as well. So after miscarriage, how can acupuncture be helpful for somebody who's experienced a loss?
Yeah. Well, again, a lot of it is about re-regulating the cycle. So obviously after a loss, there is a lot of stress. The body is all over the place. You know, hormones can be raging. Emotions are obviously very, very up and down. And so we're really there to give people that, again, that care and support. And we use the acupuncture to really calm the nervous system, and we use the acupuncture to really try and re-establish a cycle. And again, you know, we can give that practical information, because lots of people are told by their GP or the EPU, the early pregnancy unit, no problem, just go away, try again. And, you know, I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong, but people often feel, hang on a minute, I want to know whether there's anything I'm missing. And so again, we can give that really practical information and signposting. Okay, these are the first line of tests that we would recommend. So, you know, your hormones, vitamin D, standard semen tests, thyroid, and we can just discuss that with the patient and say, you could go back to your GP and ask your GP. If your GP won't do it for you, then, you know, you can do it here, here, and here. So we're just, again, giving that practical information, that signposting, so that you're not feeling overwhelmed, searching the internet, wondering what to do. We can go, okay, if it's one loss, this is what we'd recommend. If it's two losses, we might need to dig a bit deeper. And it's just holding people through that practical side of fertility treatment, and then obviously using acupuncture to affect change in the body, and using the time to give people that space to tell us how they're feeling and find that, you know, validation of, you know, often I say to people, it's okay to take time off work. It's okay to push back and say no to this, that, or the other, because there's that real thing, whether you've had a loss or you're going through fertility treatment, about just carrying on. Yeah. And, you know, we can be that reminder to people that I think is really important. It's okay to say no. It's okay to stop. This is really difficult. You really, you know, can think about putting yourself first, because they are messages you don't, as you know, they're not often told in IVF clinics. You know, it's like, go, go, go. It's very, very practical, very, very medical, which is great. But that sort of softer side of, this is actually emotionally demanding. It's reminding people that time and time again, because as women, you know, we like to do it all. And we sometimes just need a reminder that it's okay to, you know, take some time off or push back on something and have a boundary, because I think that gets missed a lot.
Definitely. And I think it's also that permission, isn't it? Yeah. Sometimes when somebody says to us, it's okay to do that. You know, if you're feeling guilty for doing things, taking time off work because you think your colleagues are covering, or saying no to friends, we feel that guilt, you know, and that adds on top of what we're already going through. And I think sometimes that permission of, and knowing it's normal, that a lot of people feel like that when they're going through fertility treatment, and that it's okay to do that. I think giving people that permission is all they need. Somebody just say to it, it's okay if you say no. You know, they can sort of stop that guilt, can't they then? And I think one of the beauties of holistic treatment is that people have that time to talk as well. So when you're in the clinic, you don't necessarily have the time, or you maybe don't feel that you can talk about some of those concerns or talk about things. If you don't like support groups, if they're not the right kind of support, holistic support, you've got an hour where you're sat with somebody, whether you're having like the acupuncture treatment, but you're able to talk. And I think a lot of people probably feel a lot more comfortable speaking openly and honestly, don't they?
Yeah. I think it's a really big part of the treatment. And where how I work and how I have it, we have like quite a few different clinics. Like, we make them really beautiful spaces, because I think it's really important is, your treatment starts the minute you enter the door. So it's a nice space, it's like relaxing, it's got plants, it's got, everything about it is there to kind of calm your nervous system and just give you that support. So from the chair you sit in to the practitioner that you're speaking to the follow-up that you get, it's a really, really important part of the whole journey of working with somebody.
Yeah, which it's great. I think it's really important that those spaces and that there's different types of support for people who need it.
Yeah.
So what piece of advice would you give to somebody who was considering it, who is on their fertility journey, whether that is, trying naturally still, whether they're going through IVF? What piece of advice would you give them if they're considering acupuncture?
Yes, good question. So first of all, I would always check that the acupuncturist that you're looking at is well qualified and has done further training in fertility, because as acupuncturists, unfortunately, we are not regulated. We are self-regulated, so we are not regulated by the government. So it means anybody can call themselves a fertility acupuncturist. So I am chair of the Acupuncture Fertility Network, and that is a network of practitioners who have done further training and committed to continual professional development in the field. So It's important, because you really want somebody who understands what your medication is going to be, what the IVF clinic protocols are, all the jargon and the language that comes with IVF. You want someone who really knows what they're talking about. So check their credentials, check the level of experience. And I always say to people, give them a call. So give them a call and find out if you like them. It's like we do discovery calls where it's people can ring up and have a chat, and I'll tell them they can ask me any question, because you've got to think, do I like this person? Am I going to get on with this person? Do they sound credible? Do they sound like they know what they're talking about? Because you want to make sure you're with the right person.
Yeah. So how can they find out that information? Is there somewhere they can find it out? Should the acupuncturist have it on their website or be able to confirm that?
Yeah, so you want to look for either the Acupuncture Fertility Network or a network called the Fertility Support Network, or obviously us, don't tell me to relax, because they are the people who have done a lot of further training. And if you have any concerns, there is the British Acupuncture Council, so they're like our self-regulatory body, but just do a little bit of research, do a bit of digging around, maybe ask for some recommendations, and always give them a call and see what you think.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I think, as with any industry, you have to make sure you're safe when you are, whether that is taking medication, supplements, using holistic therapists, that what they do to you is right and isn't going to be counterintuitive or even harmful to trying to get pregnant and going through treatment. So that's really good advice, to make sure you're checking that they're qualified. And then, from what you were saying before, starting as soon as you can. Don't leave it right till the point when you're about to start treatment. Start as early as you can. Yeah, I think that is the best way, but that's the way you're going to get the best results. And the other thing that I say to people is, if you don't like needles and if you don't fancy acupuncture, the last thing I will ever want anyone to do is feel like, oh my God, I should have done acupuncture. It's not worked because of this, that. Acupuncture is not going to be the thing that makes it work or not. Yeah. It is part of a bigger picture, and I always say to people, all of these things are like moving the dial slightly. And so if it's too late and you're thinking, oh my God, I should have done it and I shouldn't, and you feel like it's not as simple as that. We are like there to support, and we do it in lots and lots of different ways, but we are not a miracle cure or a miracle part of any IVF cycle or any natural fertility. We are a small part of a bigger picture. And so I never want people to feel like,
oh, I feel really bad, I can't afford it because it's expensive, or it's another stress because they've got to get to their acupuncture appointment. Like, let's be really honest and realistic. So there are many, many things you can do to support your fertility, and acupuncture is one of them.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to remember that. Don't feel like if you haven't done everything that's someone tells you in a forum that you're supposed to be doing, that isn't going to affect whether your treatment is successful or not. And even with acupuncture, it's, you know, not the biggest thing around it from people I speak to is that actually it's helping you feel better going through it, having the opportunity to talk, the benefits that it gives you health wise and things like that as well. So, you know, it's helping other areas and see it like that, rather than it just necessarily being it's going to help my treatment work or it's help me get pregnant. It is getting you in a better state, but also looking after your body, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, oh, brilliant. Is there anything else that you find that people ask you about, or that you think it's important for people to understand?
A lot of people ask, is there any point in your cycle that you can start acupuncture? And we always say, yes, you can start at any point, whether you're on your period or whether you're ovulating, it doesn't matter. Usually people come about once a week or once every other week, so once a fortnight. That's the sort of regularity that you need to do it. And we are increasingly seeing men in clinic. So again, for male fertility, there can be some really big benefits around count and motility. So as long as we, you know, again, we always work alongside Western medicine to make sure that we're ruling out any underlying issue. But we really want to think about the men as well as the women, because, and that's why we always ask the men to fill out a health questionnaire whenever we see the woman in clinic, because we don't want to treat a woman for 6 months and then we find out it was a male fertility issue. So we are always trying to work as much as we can with the couple. And even if that man might not come to clinic, we might just make sure he's properly investigated. He's seeing a nutritionist, he's on a good supplement plan. So it's kind of, you know, it's sometimes the work that we do is broader than acupuncture. It's kind of a combination of all things.
Yeah, and I think it's great that support for men as well. And I do speak to quite a few people who say, oh, my partner doesn't think they need to change their lifestyle factors, that they don't need to do anything. But actually it can be really helpful, can't it, as well, for men to be looking at their lifestyle factors as well as a female partner.
Yeah, exactly. And we know that it can have such huge benefits. So, you know, even just filling in the questionnaire and us highlighting, okay, these are some things that we've noticed. You might want to address this, change this, adapt this. You know, that it can sound so simple, but it can be so effective.
Yeah, because that might be lifestyle changes and things as well, isn't it, that they need to make that can either aid their fertility or just generally make them feel better when going through treatment. And the podcast as well. So I featured on it. So thank you.
Yeah.
So do you want to just explain a bit sort of what content people can find on there, how it can help them?
I mean, I've just counted up. I think we've done 25 episodes this year. So usually we do a weekly episode, and we have done over 150 now, I think. And they range from, you know, what to do when you're going through what to do on transfer day, to how to improve egg quality or what influences egg quality, to seminal microbiome. I mean, I think, I'm sure we haven't covered every topic, but we've done a fair old crack at, you know, 150 plus episodes. So some of it is very practical, some of it is very emotional, you know, to how to cope with pregnancy announcements. So there should be something for everybody on there, and sometimes it's myself with one of my team, or sometimes it's with a guest like yourself, Sarah. We've had doctors, we've had surgeons, we've had like all kinds of different people on. So there's lots in there to get your teeth into.
Brilliant. And how can people find you if they want to just speak to you, if they want to work with you? How can they get in touch with you or find you?
Just look for Don't Tell Me to Relax, which is the name of our clinics now. It's the name of the podcast. We also have an online community. So if anyone wants to join the community, there's lots of information in there. And yeah, I'm on Instagram all the time, so you can find me on there as well.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you going through. I've learned a lot as well. And I think it's really important to talk through in an honest and safe way about some of the sort of holistic therapies that can help our people are struggling to get pregnant, and they want to try different things, whether that's just for their general health or whether to feel like they've tried lots of different things to aid their fertility. So thank you so much for that.
Pleasure. Anytime anyone's got any questions, reach out. I'm always around and happy to help.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.
Bye.